Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Tiffany.
I'm Wendy.
And
this is the Hope Shot.
So this week we are here and we are going to listen to Wendy share her story. I'm super excited about it because I've never personally gotten to hear her story. And I know so much about her. She's a wonderful pillar in our community, always helping others. And I'm just super excited to hear how she got to where she's at now. So, Wendy.
Hi everybody, my name is Wendy and I am been clean for 14 years. June 19th, 2006 is is the last day that I used. So June 20th, 2006 is my clean date, and it has been quite a journey. I used from the time I was 15 years old, steady. From the time I was 15 till I was 40. If I wasn't using, I was incarcerated. That is also my story. I never have been able to stop on my own without being incarcerated or hospitalized. So kind of one of those always just going. So
tell me a little bit where it all started. Where were you born? What was your family life like when you were younger?
Well, I'm from Minnesota, so I'm from the Twin Cities, St. Paul, Minneapolis area, suburbs, and so I was born in a small little Midwestern town, and well, my family was quite dysfunctional. At an early age, my little brother drowned in our pool in our backyard, and that kind of like, I don't know, they say grief either like tears a family apart or pulls a family together. Well, it tore my family apart. The way that I see it, I was 5 years old when that happened. So I lost my oldest sister who was babysitting us that day. I lost my mother because she went into hiding and started taking benzos. And I lost my dad because he just shut down and he didn't want to talk about it. And then I lost my little brother. So like I felt like I lost half of my family. I remember feeling like that when I was 5 years old. And from that moment on, I was always seeking to fill something to fill that void.
Yeah, that's all alone. Right,
yeah, that was so. I think that incident, and it was just a tragic accident, but the way that I dial it back, and this again is my perspective, and everybody has a different perspective. Right. But from my perspective, I dial it back to that time with that family breakdown.
Gotcha. Yeah. So fast forwarding from there, throughout school, elementary, high school, were you a pretty good student and paid attention in school, or?
I was okay until I hit high school. I was all right in junior high and until I hit high school. And by the time I hit high school, I was the youngest of 5. So there was a lot of LSD, there was a lot of mushrooms, there was a lot of weed. There was always a lot of stuff that my older brothers and sisters were always doing that I was always finding. So I was always experimenting with stuff from the time I think they got me stoned when I was 5 years old one time when they were having a party. Somebody gave me a joint.
It was just so much around you.
It was, there was just a lot of it around me. So, it was kind
that
of
lifestyle.
But they all, half of my older siblings managed to do something with their lives and get past that phase. And then the other half are addicts as well. And I lost my sister to addiction and cancer about 4 years ago. One of my sisters, So.
Well, that's why I'm thankful to be here today. Yeah. We get to talk about recovery and how we do it.
Oh, man, recovery is great.
Yeah.
It is.
So from high school take me through high school to young adulthood to late adulthood, how
happened for high school, I left home when I was still in high school and kind of had a job, worked myself through high school, partied on the weekends, managed to get myself through high school, and I graduated. And then I immediately wanted to go somewhere warmer. So I chased a guy down here to Florida who I had met up in Minnesota. Whoop, whoop. And of course, when I got down here to Florida, he didn't want anything to do with me. But
At least you're in a warm place.
I was in a warm place and I wasn't going back to Minnesota. So I started rolling around in Orlando area at first when I first moved to Florida. And I was like 17, 18 years old. And I'm like 5'11". I'm this big blonde girl. Nobody ever carded me. I wasn't old enough to be in the bars, but I was always in the bars. So I had a job, and then I would always go to happy hour after work, and I'd stay until closing, and I'd shoot pool, and I'd drink, and I'd get schnockered, and I'd wake up the next day, and I'd do that. So for a while, I did that, and until I hit about 20, I got into a relationship with somebody who there was a lot of domestic violence, and then a lot of other substances started adding the scene other than just alcohol, and I started getting the tar beat out of me bad, and that was a really bad situation for about a year and a half until I almost shot him with a shotgun one day because I wasn't going to get hit anymore. So I shot it through the wall and through some blinds in the house and hit him. So I ran and I hid in the woods for like 2 days, and then I hit the streets, and I had never really like been on the streets before, and I hit the streets at that time. And I was about 19 years old, and I never left the streets.
Okay.
I never left the streets again. I never felt safe enough to be anywhere else, and I wasn't going to be anywhere else, and I just kept moving and moving and running. And I got myself in a lot of precarious situations. I've been stabbed. I've had a lot of trauma happen to me. I used to fight a lot. I used to be very aggressive, and I would use whatever would come my way. I had a preference, but it really didn't matter at the end of the day.
Right.
Yeah.
And is that some of the street life and fighting, was that some of what got you incarcerated?
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
Most of my incarcerations are possessions and grand theft autos and petty stuff like that. I do have one aggravated charge, but no, none of the fighting. That was just kind of came along with the lifestyle that I was living. But I was apparently not very good at using and being an addict on the streets, because I got caught an awful lot, because I've been arrested like 55 times.
Oh man, yeah, just
that's a lot. That's a lot of arrests. I never knew how many arrests until I got clean. So
that's incredible. I mean, not, but it is. But I mean, so what was like a turning point then for you?
That's a really good question, because I mean, throughout my life, I had my first turning point was when I got pregnant with my son. He's 28 now, and I was told I could never have kids. I had a lot of issues and stuff, and they told me a long time ago I would never have any children. I was like, that was good, because I didn't really ever want any children. I love my children, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I was told I was never have children. So I was 26. I was 25, and I was in jail in Volusia County, because I went from Orlando to Daytona.
Okay.
And facing prison again, and I had just gotten out of prison, and I found out that I was pregnant. So I was like, that was my first turning point, because I was like, wow, okay, this is not just about Wendy anymore. So I wanted to get clean, and I started going to meetings, and I started doing recovery. Okay. And I had a lot of people tell me I went into this treatment program, and people told me that you got to get clean for yourself. And I was like, I didn't get it, because I didn't really care. I didn't want to get clean for myself. Right. I didn't care to get clean for myself. I'm like, I'm not getting clean for myself. If it was up to just me, I'd still be getting high. I'm gonna have a kid now, so I gotta play grown up. So I got clean, and I was clean for a couple years. I didn't use my drug of choice for 5 years, but after about 3 years, I had got myself together. I moved with my first husband from Daytona Beach to Ocala, and I was in college, and I was starting to do the right thing, and I started having a couple drinks with people after college classes and this and that, and it really wasn't a problem for a little while. So I got to say, I was really clean for about 3 years. Okay. And then at 5-year mark, so about 2 years after I started drinking again, the bottom fell out, and I went full-fledged, because my dad had passed away, and my husband had cheated on me and brought home some drugs, and
life showed up.
Yeah, life showed up. So I hit hook, line, and sinker, and I was gone for about another 10 years. Okay. And then I got pregnant with my daughter, and that was unfortunately not a turning point to stop, because I have a daughter who's 20. So I couldn't stop using for her. So I stopped for my son, but my addiction progressed, which shows me what they say about your addiction progressing, because as much as I wanted to and knew that I should, I wasn't able to, because I was running around out there. And again, I was incarcerated when I found out I was pregnant with my son. So I had that break that I always needed. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So then after having your daughter, moving forward, kind of you stayed on the streets, stayed using, and then at what point did you find yourself back to recovery and in a meeting?
Well, in 2006, after I had some serious trauma happen to me in the spring of 2006, and I was really injured. I was really hurt bad. I was hurt really, really bad. Like I was found dead in a field, and I was resuscitated. And you would think like that would surely want to spark you to get clean. Well, it really didn't, because now I'm really traumatized, and I had this horrific event that happened to me, and I really don't even want to think about it or remember it. So I just want to mask that, of course. So, right. But I got arrested about 2 months after that had happened, and I don't know what happened, because I've been arrested so many other times. But I hit that booking cell, and I was like, this is it. Like I looked around, I'm like, going on 40 years old. I've got an 8-year-old, and I've got a 6-year-old, and I've got a 13-year-old that don't even have in my life. I'm like, I don't even know who I am or what I am anymore. And I just said, I'm done. I'm like, I'm done. This is the last time I'm going to sit in a booking cell. I just, I don't know, they talk about this spiritual enlightenment or this moment of clarity. I never really had it before, and I had tried to put some clean time before, and white knuckle it, and been in recovery meetings and stuff before, but there was just something about that day on June 19th, and it was just some stupid petty charges that I got arrested for again, on possession and open container, and I don't know.
You were just ready.
Yeah, I was just ready.
To talk about that moment when
I was.
you just inside your soul know you want something new.
I did, and so they sentenced me to prison for 2 years, and then they gave me 2 years house arrest afterwards.
Okay.
So, and they sent me to prison here in Spring Hill.
Oh, okay.
I was sent to HCI, so that brought me into Hernando County, into this area. So when I got released, I went to a halfway house, and I stayed clean.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's incredible, though. I like that you're here.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know. I didn't send me here. I got sent here. So I was like...
So 2 years of house arrest. I mean, tell me a little about that.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
Yeah, I was really mad about that.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, it's kind of like being thrown out into the real world and not being able to...
I really, I even tried cursing the judge out, so he'd just give me 4 years in prison, at sentencing and stuff, and he gave me a split sentence, and they wouldn't put me on probation, so I'm like, you won't put me on probation, you're sending me to prison, but you're putting me house arrest afterwards. It makes absolutely no sense. So in other words, you're setting me up for failure.
Right.
But I did not fail.
You did it, yeah.
I stayed clean, and just because I stayed clean doesn't mean I didn't almost violate, because it's really hard to just be on a paper and have your schedule on a paper, especially when you're not used to abiding by any parameters or any boundaries in your life.
Okay.
So it was difficult. I got a job at Chick-fil-A up on Cortez Boulevard. They hired me with my record, which was really nice of them, and I didn't have a driver's license. I got a bus pass. I don't know. I pulled weeds in people's yards. I did whatever I could do to work, and I found a meeting. In this area, and I've just kept doing that, and then I eventually I got my own little apartment down by Hernando High. That was my first little apartment. It was pretty cool. Yeah, and then I met my late husband in recovery, and we got married, and we were married for like almost 12 years. And yeah, so my whole recovery foundation was family oriented, and my kids are growing. And my husband passed away about 6 months ago. So I'm kind of in this spot right now where I'm kind of like, I have this strong foundation built and a great support network, but everything's really different again. And as an addict, I'm not liking different.
Right, change is not our friend for the most part.
Change is not my friend.
But thankfully, like you just mentioned, in recovery, we get given the tools to kind of hold ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stay clean just one moment at a time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me a little bit after the house arrest. I know you had mentioned that you are a recovery coach and that you work with others in recovery. Tell me a little bit about how you got into that.
I do. I went to, so while I was at Chick-fil-A, I went back to school, and I got my bachelor's degree. And I wanted to be a substance abuse counselor. Everybody wanted to be a substance abuse counselor that gets clean. So I waited till I was clean for 5 years before I started going back to school, because I thought if that's still my goal after 5 years clean, then that's something I really want to do. So I went back to school. I got my bachelor's degree, and there was an opportunity as a certified recovery peer specialist. So I got certified through the state of Florida as a recovery peer specialist, which means you have that lived experience, and you have to have over 2 years clean. And you advocate and you mentor, and you stick, you're kind of there for people because you understand, kind of got the hat and the t-shirt for that kind of stuff. So Baycare hired me, and that's when I found out how many times I've been arrested, because you have to get an exemption on your criminal history in order to get hired. And that's how, I never knew how many times I got arrested, but they find every single one of them, and you have to explain it and get the paperwork for it, and the fines had to be paid and all this stuff, and it took me like 6 months to get my exemption. So I got hired at Baycare outpatient services as a peer specialist. Yeah. So now I'm a case manager and a peer specialist too. I kind of do both jobs. So I'm very, very, very blessed to not a substance abuse counselor, and I don't think I really want to be one. I'm happy with doing the things that I'm doing because I got that lived experience that I can do, and I can be in there, and it's I don't know, it's just different. It's a great job though. I love it.
Yeah, I have heard some of the amazing things that you've helped, and it's inspiring.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, I got to give back. Yeah. I've had so much given to me. I've had so many people in this area that helped me out when I started out and have been so good to me, and people that have been there for me. And my energy is spiritual, and it comes from what was so freely given to me. So I'll never run out of the energy or the passion that I have to want to help another addict. I don't care who you are. I'm not going to judge you by what you've done, man, or where you've been. If you want some help, give me a call. I'll help you out in any way.
Awesome, beautiful. I mean, like you said, the gift that was given, we freely give because we can't keep what we don't give away. So I want to take it back just a little bit to that area you were saying you stayed clean for 5 years before you went back to school. In those 5 years, what do you think helped the most of how you stayed?
Wow, consistency. I gotta say, so I only did a year of the community control.
Okay.
They took me off early, a year early.
Wow.
So, and my community control officer went with me to court, all the way to Marion County with me, and she came to my college graduation. I still talk to her today. Yeah,
awesome.
She's a friend of mine.
Relationships we get to
Yeah,
build
she is a friend of mine now. So when I went to court to get off the community control, I remember the judge asking me if he thought that I sentenced him too harshly, and I was like, wow. I was like, it was my opportunity, you know? I mean, like, if he'd asked me that 4 years ago, I'd have had a mouthful for him. In fact, I did have a mouthful for him 4 years ago, but I looked at it and I thought about it in the moment, and I thought, you know what? You constrained me. You restricted me in my activities, because I'm like, I'm kind of nuts. I kind of got a lot of energy. I'm kind of like I'm really out there. So, just in case y'all, though you don't know me. Anyway, I got a lot of energy, and I could easily see that I could have gotten myself in trouble, but he limited my parameters for that first year in recovery, which they say out of prison, I should say, because I worked my program in prison too. So I mean, I went to meetings and I did the right thing, because you can get plenty of stuff on the compound. So, but getting out and being out here was when it really comes to the test. So having that, I'm only allowed out here and I'm only allowed out there, which normally I would have bucked and I would have fought that, and but I didn't. I surrendered to it, and I just tried to abide by the rules. So
okay, that
really set that pattern for me. And then having a job for the first time in my life, like, I never had a job. My first paycheck was pitiful. I was like, what? It was ridiculous. I'm like, this is even my habit for one day, and I had my blisters on my feet for 2 weeks. So like, getting into the mindset of, okay, if I want to do something different, I gotta,
do something different.
I gotta do something different, right? So yeah.
Awesome. Well, beautiful. Wendy, thank you so much for sharing your story. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
Just take it one day at a time. Anybody out there that's struggling with addiction or just starting out in recovery, it gets better. It definitely gets better. Find the things that you like to do or things that you've always wanted to do, and aspire to do them, and find good people. It's really, really important to have a support network. You got to pick that phone up. You got to find people that you can trust that'll be there for you.
Beautiful. So if you guys need or want, please send us messages. We can get you linked with Wendy. She would love to help. We also have other resources if you are in need. And please don't forget to hit like, share our page, and subscribe, please.
Absolutely.
We look forward to next week with you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you. Thanks for letting me share my story.